All right, everyone, buckle up. Today, we're diving headfirst into the wild world of team coaching.
It's everywhere, right?
It really is. But is it just a trendy buzzword, or is there something more there? We're dissecting a fascinating YouTube video today. Secrets Revealed, Team Coaching Book Launch. We'll be hearing from the author, Adriel Lopez, along with coaching expert Dee Acheson, and even team coaching supervisor A. Hodge.
That's an all-star lineup for sure.
By the end of this deep dive, you'll be able to hold your own in any team coaching conversation, guaranteed.
I like it. Let's get into it.
So I'll admit, I hear team coaching and I kind of think, well, isn't that like what good managers do anyway? But I suspect it's a lot more nuanced than that.
You're not wrong.
Yep.
It's a lot more complex than people might think. There's a real art to it.
So for those listening who might be new to this whole thing, how would you explain what team coaching actually is?
Okay, so imagine instead of just leading a regular team meeting, you're like conducting an orchestra. Each musician has their own unique sound, right?
I like where you're going with this.
Team coaching is about being that conductor, bringing those individual sounds together into a harmonious whole, guiding them to find their collective rhythm.
Okay, so less about dictating the tune and more about facilitating a collaborative jam session.
Nailed it. And a big part of that, as Lopez, the book's author, highlights, is building trust. Real, solid trust.
Which, as we've talked about before, is easier said than done.
Oh, for sure. And he takes it a step further, actually, connecting it to Fernando Flores' work, which we've also touched on in a previous deep dive.
Right.
Flores believed that true trust isn't just this fluffy feeling. It's rooted in shared agreements, crystal clear communication, and everyone being accountable to those agreements.
That's right. I remember that. So it sounds like team coaching is a hot topic, but there's still some confusion about what it actually entails, both from the folks hiring these coaches and maybe even the coaches themselves.
You're reading my mind.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of what Dur Lopez and his co-authors are trying to address with this book. They're tackling that gap head on.
It's like this weird paradox. Team coaching is booming, everyone wants in, but it's still kind of this nebulous, undefined thing in a lot of ways.
Precisely. It's like trying to hit a moving target. And that lack of clarity can lead to all sorts of problems, both for coaches trying to build their practice and for organizations investing in it.
Which makes me even more curious about this book. What sets it apart from all the other books on team coaching out there?
Well, for one, they've really tried to bridge that gap between, like, the heady theory and what you actually do in the real world. A lot of books on coaching either get super academic and jargony, or they're so laser focused on one tiny aspect that you miss the bigger picture.
Okay, so it's less about lofty concepts and more about, all right, here's how you actually roll up your sleeves and make this happen.
Exactly. It's like a roadmap for navigating this complex world of team coaching, which is crucial because, as we all know, the terrain is constantly shifting.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like the very definition of a team is evolving right before our eyes. Different generations in the workplace, global teams spread out across who knows how many time zones. And don't even get me started on technology and how it's changing the way we communicate. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
You're not kidding. It's a whole new ballgame out there.
Yeah.
And trying to apply those old school leadership playbooks to this new reality.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't work anymore.
One thing that really struck me from Dur Lopez's part in the video was his point about generational differences. It's something we've touched on before, but he specifically mentioned how the perception of vulnerability has shifted.
Oh, absolutely.
What might have once been seen as a weakness, especially in a professional context, is now often embraced as a strength, particularly by younger generations.
It's like that Brené Brown effect.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because it challenges those traditional leadership models where, the leader was supposed to have all the answers and project this image of unwavering confidence.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You can't underestimate the impact of this generational shift. What motivates a baby boomer might not even register with a millennial or Gen Z.
And then you add in the complexities of navigating global teams.
Don't even get me started.
The very definition of team can mean something completely different depending on cultural context.
Oh, I know it. What flies in one culture can be a total disaster in another. Like, a team in one country might prioritize harmony and consensus above all else, while another thrives on healthy debate and maybe even a bit of, productive friction.
Yes.
It's not just about being interesting or politically correct or whatever. For a team coach, understanding these nuances, these cultural differences, it's not optional. It's make or break.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't forget about the elephant in the room, Technology.
Right.
It's unavoidable. It's not just about mastering the latest project management software or like being a Zoom wizard.
Though that helps.
It's about recognizing that different generations have grown up with completely different relationships to technology and how they prefer to communicate. It's a whole other layer of complexity.
You're preaching to the choir. You've got some team members glued to their inboxes, living in a world of instant messages and Slack notifications. And then you've got others who are craving that face-to-face interaction and feel completely lost without it.
And trying to find a way to make it all work.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg, right?
So all of this to say, it sounds like the role of a team coach is incredibly demanding. I can only imagine the pressure they're under to navigate all of these dynamics, especially when the stakes are high.
It's no walk in the park, that's for sure. And that's where having a solid support system for the coaches themselves becomes absolutely crucial.
Which I'm guessing is where team coaching supervision comes in.
You got it. In the video, Hodge, who's a team coach supervisor, really drove home how vital supervision is for a team coach's well-being and effectiveness. It's not just a nice perk or something, it's non-negotiable.
It makes sense when you think about it. We're talking about someone who's constantly immersed in the challenges and complexities of other teams, trying to help them navigate all this stuff we've been talking about. They need support too.
Exactly. And it's not just about having someone to vent to, though that's definitely part of it. Hodge talked about how common it is for team coaches to experience a sense of loneliness or isolation in their work.
I can imagine. They're dealing with these really sensitive interpersonal dynamics, often with high-stakes outcomes on the line, and they're supposed to just, like, suck it up and keep going.
It's not sustainable. They need a safe space to process those experiences, to debrief, to get feedback, to make sure they're not burning out.
So it's about having that space to vent, sure, but also to gain perspective, to challenge your own assumptions, and just like recharge your battery so you can show up as your best self for your clients.
100%. Hodge really emphasized that supervision isn't about being fixed or told what to do. It's about having a thought partner, someone to help you untangle those knots and see the bigger picture, someone who gets it.
Like having a co-pilot on a particularly turbulent flight.
The perfect analogy.
Makes total sense that having that support would be critical, especially in a field as demanding as this.
And speaking of support, that's where the concept of co-coaching comes in, which adds a whole other dimension to the mix.
Okay, so break that down for me. Co-coaching, is it literally two coaches working with one team?
You got it. And it's becoming increasingly popular, and for good reason.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, for starters, having two coaches provides that built-in support system we were just talking about. They've got each other's backs, you know.
Like a coaching buddy system. I like it.
Exactly. But it goes deeper than that. It also allows them to model healthy team dynamics for their clients in real time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. It's like they're holding up a mirror to the team, showing them what healthy communication and collaboration can look like in action. And as Acheson pointed out in the video, the dynamics within the coaching duo often get mirrored in the client team.
That's fascinating. So it's like this unintentional case study playing out in the background, except it's not really in the background. It's very much front and center.
It's like this hidden curriculum that's always operating.
Yeah.
And it can be incredibly powerful if the coaching duo is aware of it and using it intentionally.
So to recap, co-coaching is a win-win for everyone involved. Support for the coaches and a live demonstration for the team. But with all this talk about coaching and development, the question of ROI inevitably comes up.
Oh, I know it. Everyone wants to know what's the bottom line.
Exactly. So how do you measure the success of something as nuanced as like improved team dynamics or better communication? It's not always as simple as pointing to a spreadsheet. Or is it?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's something we're going to unpack in more detail next time.
Stay tuned, folks.
Because this is where things get really interesting.
You know, it's funny. We started this whole deep dive thinking about like hitting targets and boosting productivity.
Right.
But this feels so much bigger than that now, almost philosophical.
Yep.
Like we're talking about the very nature of work and what it means to be human in a world where, let's face it, robots are taking over more and more tasks.
It's true. And that's what I find so fascinating about team coaching. It's not about trying to make humans act more like machines, you know, more efficient, more data-driven.
Right.
It's about creating space for all those things that make us uniquely human.
Our empathy, our creativity.
Exactly. Our ability to connect on a deeper level, build trust, navigate those messy interpersonal dynamics. These are the things that AI, at least for now, just can't replicate.
Which reminds me, we were talking about generational differences earlier.
Oh, right, absolutely.
I'm curious, did Atchison or Hodge share any specific insights about how they adapt their coaching styles for different generations? Because what works for a Gen X team might totally fall flat with a bunch of millennials, right?
Well, for sure. And Atchison actually told this great story about a time she was coaching this multi-generational team at a tech startup.
Oh, I bet that was interesting.
Oh, it was a wild ride. She quickly realized that her usual approach of, setting clear goals, deadlines, deliverables, it just wasn't landing with some of the younger team members.
Interesting. How come?
It turned out the younger folks, while ambitious and all that, they were also really craving more mentorship, more collaboration. They didn't just want to be told what to do. They wanted to be part of figuring it out together, even if it meant things moved a little slower or less efficiently in the traditional sense.
Right. Which makes sense. Different generations have such different expectations of what good leadership looks like.
Exactly. And that's where Atchison's co-coaching partner really came in handy.
Ah, two heads are better than one.
Exactly. He had more experience working with younger generations and was able to help Atchison adjust her approach, build in more opportunities for feedback and brainstorming, and that sense of shared ownership that the younger team members were craving.
It's like that saying, it takes a village. Or in this case, it takes a coaching duo.
I love it. And it really highlights how important it is for team coaches to have that diversity of experience and perspective, especially as the workforce becomes more globally connected, which, speaking of...
Oh, yeah, global teams. Did they talk about that at all? Because that adds a whole other layer of complexity to the mix, trying to navigate different cultural norms and expectations on top of everything else.
Oh, absolutely. Hodge actually specializes in coaching global leadership teams.
Wow, that takes a special kind of human.
Right. She had a fascinating story about a team she coached that was spread out across 4 continents.
4 continents, that's like next level.
I know. Logistical nightmares aside, one of the biggest challenges was communication styles. Some team members were very direct, like, here's the problem, here's what we need to do.
Right, cut to the chase.
Exactly. While others were much more indirect, maybe trying to avoid conflict or stay face, and their concerns were getting lost in translation.
Oh, I can only imagine the misunderstandings. It's so easy to misinterpret tone or nuance, even in face-to-face communication.
Tell me about it. And then you add in different cultural norms and time zones, it's a recipe for disaster.
So how did Hodge help them navigate that?
Well, first, she created a shared understanding of the different communication styles present on the team. They actually all took a personality assessment.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then they had a workshop where they could discuss their results openly and talk about their preferences for communication, like, hey, just so you know, I'm a straight shooter, so don't read too much into my tone, or I tend to be more indirect, so if something's bothering me, I might not just come out and say it.
It's like they're giving each other permission to not be mind readers.
Exactly, because once you're aware of those differences, you can adjust your communication style accordingly. It's not about changing who you are. It's about being mindful of how your natural style might be landing on others, especially in a cross-cultural context.
It's like that saying, assume good intentions, except in this case, it's more like, assume different communication styles.
Yes. Assume we're all coming from different places and adjust accordingly. And Atchison actually built on this too, saying a big part of her job as a team coach is helping people become more culturally aware, and not just intellectually.
What do you mean?
Like, she'll have teams do exercises or have conversations that really force them to confront their own biases and assumptions about other cultures.
Oh, wow. That's getting deep.
It is. She gave this example of one team that was really struggling to collaborate effectively, and through a series of exercises, they realized there was all this unspoken tension and mistrust stemming from cultural stereotypes they didn't even realize they were holding on to.
So it wasn't just about communication styles on the surface. There was this deeper layer of cultural baggage they had to unpack.
Exactly. And that's where team coaching can be so powerful, because it creates a safe space to have those tough conversations and challenge our own preconceived notions about people who are different from us.
It's almost like team coaching becomes this microcosm of society in a way. If we can learn to communicate and collaborate more effectively in our teams, maybe, just maybe, that can have a ripple effect on how we interact with each other in the wider world.
Okay, now you're getting me fired up. But you're right, there's a bigger picture here. And I think Atchison and Hodge would both agree that team coaching isn't just about boosting a team's performance. It's about creating a more human-centered future of work, one where we're using technology to complement our humanity, not replace it.
I love that. It's about creating a future where we're not just cogs in a machine, but where we can bring our whole selves to work, differences and all.
Yes. And that brings us back to the book itself, which, as you can imagine, is chock full of practical advice and tools to actually make this happen.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the why of team coaching, the challenges, the opportunities, but now I'm curious about the how. What are some of the specific things that Derlopis and his co-authors recommend?
Well, one thing they emphasize is the importance of having a shared language and framework for understanding team dynamics.
Which makes sense. You can't fix what you can't name, right?
Exactly. And that's where their magic model comes in.
Okay, the magic model? I am intrigued. Tell me more.
So it's this framework they've developed that breaks down the essential elements of a high-performing team. And it's broken down into 5 key areas: purpose, people, process, performance, and practice.
Okay, so walk me through those. What do each of those actually mean in practice?
Sure. So purpose is all about having that shared understanding of the team's mission, why they exist, what they're working towards. Then you've got people, which, as you might expect, focuses on the individual strengths and areas for growth within the team, like who are these people, what are their unique talents, and how can we help them shine?
Makes sense. You've got to know your players, right?
Exactly. Then there's process, which is all about optimizing how the team works together. How do they communicate, make decisions, resolve conflicts, all that good stuff. Then you've got performance, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's about tracking progress, celebrating successes, and making sure everyone's aligned on what success looks like. And finally, there's practice, which is all about creating a culture of continuous learning and improvement. It's not enough to just have a good game plan. You have to practice and refine those skills over time.
So it's not just about what the team is doing, but also WHO they are and how they're working together.
Exactly. It's about looking at the whole system, not just the individual parts. And what's cool is they don't just throw this model at you and say, good luck.
Yeah.
The book is full of practical exercises and tools that teams can use to assess themselves against these 5 elements and identify areas for growth.
It's like a choose-your-own-adventure guide to building a better team.
Exactly. And one of the things I appreciate is that they don't shy away from the messier aspects of teamwork, like conflict, which, let's be real, is inevitable.
Oh, tell me about it. Especially when you're dealing with different personalities, different communication styles, different cultural backgrounds. Conflict is bound to happen.
Exactly. And so often, teams try to avoid conflict, which, as we all know, just makes things worse in the long run.
Oh, for sure. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline.
The worst. So Derlopis and his co-authors actually dedicate a whole chapter to what they call constructive conflict.
Okay, so how do you make conflict constructive? Because I feel like that's the million-dollar question. It feels like it's got to be more than just, hey, let's all try to be nice to each other.
Right. But good luck with that. No, it takes a real mindset shift.
Totally. Instead of seeing conflict as this big, scary thing to avoid, what if we saw it as like an opportunity for growth?
Exactly. That's what they're getting at with this whole constructive conflict idea.
So it's less about being right or wrong and more about like figuring it out together, finding the best solution for everyone involved.
You got it. It's about shifting from me versus you to us against the problem.
Which sounds great in theory, but I'm sure it's easier said than done. How do you actually make that happen in a real-world team setting?
That's where having a skilled facilitator like a team coach can make all the difference.
Right. Someone to kind of like referee the whole thing and make sure it doesn't devolve into a shouting match.
Exactly. They can help the team set some ground rules for healthy debate, teach them how to communicate their perspectives assertively but respectfully, and, maybe most importantly, make sure everyone feels heard and validated, even if they don't get their way.
It's like creating a safe space for disagreement, which, let's be real, a lot of teams struggle with.
Oh, for sure. We're so conditioned to avoid conflict, especially at work, that we'd rather just sweep things under the rug and hope they magically disappear.
Which, spoiler alert, they never do.
Right, they just fester and grow until they eventually explode.
So how do you break out of that cycle? How do you create a team culture where it's okay to disagree, where conflict is seen as a normal, even healthy part of the process?
Practice. It's like any other skill, the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Right. You can't expect a basketball team to just walk onto the court and win a championship without practicing their free throws and their plays and all that.
Precisely. You've got to put in the reps. And just like a good coach can help a team identify their weaknesses, a team coach can work with teams to figure out where they tend to get stuck in conflict and develop strategies for navigating those challenges more effectively.
So instead of conflict being this thing that derails the team, it becomes this opportunity to learn and grow and become even stronger.
Exactly. And that, to me, is what makes team coaching such a powerful tool for this new world of work we're all navigating. Because, let's be honest, things aren't getting any less complex.
Or any less uncertain.
And the ability to work together effectively, to navigate differences, to solve problems collaboratively, those are going to be the most valuable skills in the years to come.
It's like if AI is going to take over all the routine tasks, then it's those uniquely human skills like communication, collaboration, creativity. Those are going to be what sets us apart.
Absolutely. It's not about humans versus machines. It's about finding ways to leverage the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
And that's where team coaching comes in. It helps us level up our human game.
I love that. So to bring it back to ROI, which I know is top of mind for a lot of folks listening, if those uniquely human skills are the new currency of success, how do we measure their value? Because let's be real, a spreadsheet can't always capture the impact of like a team that's learned to communicate more effectively or navigate conflict productively.
You're preaching to the choir. It's not always about those hard metrics, those bottom line numbers.
Yeah.
And that's something Der Lopez and his co-authors talk about in the book. We need to expand our definition of ROI to include the human impact.
Okay, I'm listening. So what does that look like in practice?
It's about looking beyond just whether the team hit their targets and asking, how is this work impacting their well-being, their engagement, their sense of purpose? Are they bringing their best selves to work?
So it's not just about measuring whether the team is successful. It's about measuring whether they're thriving in the process.
Exactly. And that requires a more holistic approach, looking at things like employee satisfaction, retention rates, even just like the quality of their relationships. Are people excited to work together? Are they coming up with innovative solutions? These are the things that ultimately impact the bottom line anyway.
It's like that saying, happy employees are productive employees. Except in this case, it's more like thriving teams are high-performing teams.
You got it. And that's something Atchison, the coaching expert in the video, is really passionate about. She believes that everyone deserves to find joy and fulfillment in their work, and that team coaching can be a powerful tool for making that happen, for creating a world where work isn't just something we endure, but something that actually brings us alive.
Okay, now I'm getting chills. That's a vision I can get behind. So for anyone listening who's feeling inspired to dive deeper into the world of team coaching, what's the best place for them to start? Besides reading the book, of course, which we'll definitely link in the show notes.
Oh, definitely check out the YouTube video we discussed today, Secrets Revealed, Team Coaching Book Launch. It's a fantastic introduction to the book and the authors and some of the key concepts we discussed. And of course, there are tons of amazing resources available online, from articles and podcasts to workshops and training programs.
It's a whole world waiting to be explored. I know I've learned a ton in this deep dive, and I hope you have too. Until next time, keep asking those insightful questions, and remember, the future of work is collaborative.